Okay, I think we're okay to start. I think we've got the vast majority of the people that have registered joining us, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today on this webinar. It is live and we are recording it. I'd like to welcome you all to this session where we're going to talk about Coio's managed service and why choose a data platform managed service. We're going to choose a slightly different format in terms of the normal style webinars that you might have been used to attending before. This is going to be a panel session today, and in a few minutes I will warmly welcome and invite and introduce the panel speakers. Before we jump into the session, a quick bit of housekeeping. We've got a lot of interesting content and discussion to share with you today, but we've also put some time at the end for questions and answers. As the session takes place, please feel free to pop any thoughts, questions, no matter how difficult they may be, into the Q&A feature. It's at the top of your Teams window and it says Q&A. When we get to the end of the session, we will then strive to answer as many of those questions as possible. Any that needs follow-up, we will also be very happy to follow up as well. So before we kick off, I thought it would be useful just to share with you a couple of slides to position who Coio is and what we do. So we are an organization of over 100 people. For those of you that don't know, Coio actually means to come together, to meet or assemble or unite. And this is how we operate with our customers, our partners, and our staff. And it also means how we actually bring together data solutions, specifically on the Microsoft stack. We've been in existence for over 18 years. We were founded in 2007, and we've got over 200 certifications. Just to give you a little bit of context, in the managed services team, we have over 40 people in the team. And if we go around and count up the amount of experience, we've got over 480 years worth of experience in IT. So we've got quite a lot of experience in managed services. In terms of what we support, I thought it would be really useful to share with all of you the services that Coio offers to its clients. And if we were to put them onto one page, this is what describes what we offer in terms of our services. Coio is a Microsoft data analytics and AI partner, and we provide consulting services as well as managed services across the full data analytics and AI stack. So we start a lot of our client engagements with customers around their data and AI strategy. We then move through that in terms of the second layer down, which is all around our consulting engagements. And this is either around data platforms where we're migrating, modernizing, or transforming a client's environment. Our data analytics consultancy, where we're talking about where we're delivering engineering, insights, and integration of complex and obviously business critical analytic solutions, through to data visualization. And finally, the latest area, which is all around artificial intelligence. Then the next layer down is our managed services. And we offer three primary managed services areas. The first is around managed databases. The second is around managed analytics. And the third is around managed AI. Today, we're going to focus on the managed database element, and we're going to share with you in terms of our key insights, knowledge, and experience around that particular area. However, before we kick off that discussion, I'd like to obviously introduce our panel. Moving from left to right, I'd like to introduce, first of all, Edward. Edward, over to you.
Hello, good morning. Thank you. So hello, everyone. I am Edward Harrison, the Service Delivery and Transition Engineer here in the Managed Service team. I've been now here at Coio for, I think now possibly 8 years, if my maths is correct. And I started as a humble kind of DBA in the team and sort of worked my way around mainly the managed services part of the business. But yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much, Edward. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Paula. Paula, over to you.
Thanks, Martin. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paula. I'm the Managed Services Team Lead. I have been at Coio for just over 4 years, and just like Edward, I started off as an engineer and moved into this role about 2.5 years ago. So my main responsibilities are for managing a team of data platform engineers, ensuring they've got the correct skills and development so that we can provide a valuable service to our customers.
Thank you very much, Paula. Now, we have a very special guest with us today. I'd like to introduce one of our key customers, IMS Global, and Mike. Over to you, Mike, to introduce yourself.
So I'm Mike. I'm from IMS. I've been here for about nearly 10 years now at IMS. And IMS is a business. We provide telematics solutions to insurers to enable their policyholders to view driver behaviour. And my role as part of that is to ensure the platform is stable and secure.
Thank you very much, Mike. Obviously myself, so I'll do a bit of quick self-introduction. My name is Martin Summerhays. I'm the Managed Services Practice Director here at Coio. I've been here just over 2 years, and welcome. And then finally, over to James. James, like to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is James Lean. I am the Managed Service Architect at Coio. I've been with Coio in various DBA roles since 8 years ago, and a DBA and working with SQL Server for well over 20 years in total. I'm responsible for all the technical delivery within the service team, so how we monitor and deliver our service on a technical level, and also kind of processes and policies across the team in terms of the day-to-day processes. So that's me.
Thank you very much, James. So to kick off this panel discussion this morning, we thought we'd throw out a number of key questions which a lot of clients talk to us about, and we thought we'd start off with a very simple one, which is, what is managed service and how does it work? So I'd like to invite Edward and James to have a brief chat and discussion around what it actually is. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. So I think for those of you who haven't dealt with it, managed service is predominantly a group of people, all of us, say for instance Coio, bringing a kind of a typically specialist experience and bringing together our cumulative knowledge, expertise, etc., in combination with our customized monitoring tools and systems and best practices together to sort of help manage client environments and sort of make sure that they are managed, maintained, and performing optimally. At the moment, where we are right now, so as Martin's alluded to already, we've got a team of 40 individuals in just the managed services team. Predominantly, it is data platform engineers, and for those of you who have been around long enough, originally DBAs. And it's through those individuals and the cumulative experience that we've all gathered together, we can ensure that client environments are kind of kept up and running, and ideally run silently. I think as well, on top of that, obviously because of this time we've obviously developed our own ITSM tools, so we've got our own basically ITIL best practice system so that we can easily adapt into client environments and then kind of immediately take on best practice working practices in both the IT industry, but as well as say making sure client environments adhere to best practices or industry best practices as well. And that's predominantly just because of everything that we've built over the last nearly 20 years now. I don't know, James, you want to add to that?
Yes, I think I was going to talk a little bit about the technical side of what managed service encompasses. So when we onboard a customer or a client, a key part of our service is the monitoring platform and proactive alerting that we provide. So we'll look to establish a secure private network connection into a client's environment, and from there we'll deploy our primary monitoring and alerting platform. There is also a separate platform that we deploy to more critical servers that allows us to do really low-level, in-depth performance analysis and tuning, and kind of looking back at what was going on a server back in time. The monitoring platform itself just involves the deployment of a lightweight monitoring agent to the SQL servers. This is a very simple, quick install, no downtime required. And also it can coexist with any existing monitoring that you may already be running on your servers. It's very low, negligible performance impact that has. The platform itself is a Microsoft product, which comes with a lot of monitoring out of the box, but over the many years that we've been doing this and our experience with monitoring any kind of SQL Server feature and environment that you can think of, we have added to that quite substantially. We've got quite a large set of custom monitors that ensure that we can get alerted to issues as quickly as possible. And the proactive nature of our monitoring and alerting is what a lot of clients find really valuable. We can often tell them that a problem is potentially going to happen before it starts impacting users, and we can jump on that as quickly as possible. And that's obviously of real value to clients and their users. As well as the monitoring, as part of onboarding, we run our best practice assessment against all monitored servers. So that's a number of checks looking at the setup and configuration of the servers in terms of configuration, maintenance, performance, and security. So we'll run that and then work with the clients to remediate any issues and make sure that the systems are set up in as optimal fashion as possible. And then once we've done the initial one, we'll also look to run that at regular intervals throughout the length of the contract to make sure that things don't drift, and any new recommendations and best practices from Microsoft and the community are reflected in that. And just about to give you an idea of the scale of our service, we currently monitor over 400 servers and Azure managed instance and Azure DBs, and that encompasses over 13,000 databases in total. So, we're doing a lot of monitoring. We've got a lot of history and experience, and a finely tuned platform that we use. So,
James, I think it's not just monitoring that we do, though, is it?
Mm-hmm. No, it's not. We do a lot of performance tuning and working with clients to proactively look for areas that we can improve these servers and databases. So we often do regular performance reviews, index reviews. Obviously, as I say, 90% or over of our support tickets are raised from our proactive monitoring, but also clients raise their own requests. Obviously, we don't pick up everything, or there may be something that they want us to look at specifically. So we'll work with clients to look into that, and always looking to kind of improve and make efficiencies across all the databases on an ongoing basis. Yeah.
I think it's worth adding as well to that is the way that our service operates is that as part of the service that each client will get their own sort of dedicated, designated engineer or data platform engineer. It's a sort of their lead technical point into Coeo. So it's that individual that they will communicate probably most frequently with, whether it's via catch-ups and or service reviews. And the main reasoning for that is with sometimes you can have a bit of too much of a wall between, say, a customer and the actual the technical side of the service. And so what these individuals are doing is, one, is building up the domain knowledge required to kind of properly understand how each client environment sort of works, how it fits together. And it's from that, in addition to monitoring, alerting, community experience, that means that we can actually more proactively make recommendations based on the knowledge that we know of the client, what they're doing, what they're planning. So it's not just us reacting, is us trying to help lead client or help direct them into into their own kind of futures.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, James, and thank you very much, Edward, for sharing. I thought we could now switch gears slightly and actually hear some real life experience. You've heard a little bit about what it is, the how. Now I thought we could switch gears slightly and talk about the what in terms of what we've actually delivered in terms of client interactions and services. So I'd like to invite Paula and Mike to lead a conversation around a couple of topics that will help explain this a little bit further. Over to you, Paula.
Thanks. So yeah, Mike has joined us today from IMS. And Mike, you've been a customer of Coeo now for 10 years. So if you can think back to 2015, if you're able to remember that far back, and tell everyone a little bit about what was your estate like back then and how was this being managed internally?
Yeah, no problem. So, as I said before, I joined back in September 2015, mainly to oversee the underlying infrastructure and a small support team that we had there at the time. We also had a few other developers as well, and between us all, we were responsible for managing like quite a large and complex estate, VMs, database servers, etc. But the team wasn't that big. Um, as we operate in telematics, we have a lot of data, and as our customer base grew, our data grew, and over time, we started seeing slowness and things like because we have APIs, portals, ingestion services, all pulling a lot of data in from apps and black boxes, and it was all over time we'd start seeing it sort of slow down. The hardware was mainly on premise though, so it was in a managed data center at the time, and the data center people were only responsible for the back end. So we were responsible from the OS level and the SQL level. And then, as we turned out, when we started getting these performance issues, we'd spend hours, maybe even days, trying to sort of troubleshoot it. And to a point where we needed a new solution, and we needed a new solution going forward.
So you mentioned there was slowness, performance issues. What impact was this having on the business and maybe your end users at that time?
Yeah, so what that would mean is, so we would with the slowness, obviously our internal portals would be starting to go slow, so trying to retrieve data would be bad. We call them events. So customers, what their experience, they would see things like they'd do a journey and the journey wouldn't appear in, say, their app. So obviously this is a bad customer experience. So we would always be on it for a long time, trying to get this up as quickly as possible ourselves. And as I say, we knew internally how to write queries and stored procedures to move the data where we needed it to be. But it was the part around tuning, the SQL maintenance, that sort of it. That was the bit that we were missing internally.
So obviously nobody wants a bad customer experience. So I can understand why you started to look outside for a provider and external support. So what was it that made you decide to partner up with Coeo?
Yeah, so I think, as I was saying before, it's, we needed a DBA specialist, and, we know these things can be expensive, but, we were looking at maybe trying to hire an internal, but then we thought, it's probably best that rather than relying on one person internally for this, if we can look at getting a collective group of people, like a service to provide us some 24/7 support essentially on our databases, that if anything ever went wrong with them, we could lean on to get something moving, to get any issues resolved, or being able to pick up these things before we even noticed them. That was sort of the goal for us.
Good. And in those 10 years that you've been with Coeo, what's it been like? What's the service been like, and what impact have we had on business and operations?
The impact's been very, very positive. We have definitely seen a massive reduction in performance issues, downtime, things like this. The support team at Coeo have been instrumental at spotting, indexes that are wrong, query plans that are wrong, tuning opportunities, maintenance, even things like sorting out backup schedules and moving them around to make sure we don't impact any customers. All these little things have just made a massive impact to the customer experience and our experience, which is great for our account managers when they have to have those conversations with their accounts, really.
Good. I'm glad that we've been able to assist there and give the customer a more positive experience than previously. So our team at Coeo obviously work quite closely with the team at IMS. How does that relationship work? How do the two teams work together?
Really, really well. I like to see it as more of a partnership rather than a supplier customer relationship. You know, we've got the usual medium. You know, we can contact them by phone if it's a real emergency. We get provided with a portal so we can see all the tickets. The guys at Coeo are on the ball with raising tickets before we even know about it, and then are always asking for our feedback if they want to, if we need to change something, or if they want to change, if you want to change them for us. We have a couple of Teams channels as well where we would discuss potential optimizations, and these informal chats can then lead on to formal tickets and change requests, all these things. And like, we have a bit of an and formal way of doing things, but the relationship between it's very, very smooth and works really, really well. Almost like I like to see it, and I think my team like to see Coeo as an extension of our support services as well, which is really good. And it's really like how I like to work, that I know I can lean on Coeo when we have, whether it be a question or whether it be a P1 outage, the response time is always really, really fast and really well.
So that's the day-to-day service. So our engineers would interact mostly with your engineers and work together to provide a good service, ensure that everything's running smoothly. What's the perception of the team at Coeo higher up, so middle management and board level?
Yeah, again, really, really well, because what they're seeing now is, the uptime and the performance and less performance degradation and stuff like that. So this is really, really well received. So we're not getting sort of informed by our account managers or middle management or the XA, and we've got customer X on the phone, they're complaining about, bad performance, this isn't going to look good, etc. It's just been a really, really good journey, and it's just really, really helped the perception across the board that our services are stable and the performance is really, really good.
And this might lead into the next thing I was going to talk about, but why do you keep renewing with Coeo each year?
Yes, it's a trust. It's like a trust and partnership relations thing again. So we know what Coeo provide to us, and we know it's a really, really good service. They've been instrumental in keeping, our services up. So I guess we wouldn't look at anyone else, because we know what we're getting, and we're really happy to have this partnership and working well together.
One of the things that we strive for in Coeo is to deliver value to our customers, and value can be quite subjective. So we try to adapt that to each customer and deliver what they see as value. What's been the most valuable part of the Coeo service for yourselves at IMS?
Yeah, I suppose there's been a few things that have driven value. So we started in a data center. Again, Coeo helped optimize and keep that going. And then when we started moving out of the data center, Coeo were instrumental in helping us with that migration path from data center into Azure. Now, it was obviously from traditional SQL into a traditional SQL VM, but it was a hosted VM in Azure. So again, Coeo were instrumental in helping us with that, and then obviously putting the tuning, the build, the backups, all the stuff that came around with that. And then as we've started to move even further, we've moved into sort of like the serverless world as well. So again, they've helped us migrate data into the serverless space, monitoring, tickets all raised, all this sort of stuff, as well as helping us with some of the cost optimizations that come along with some of that as well, especially with being in the Azure space. So being able to spot, our databases, our servers are too high, too low, you're using this much data, if we do these queries, it'll bring the compute time down, we can scale it down. All these little things definitely add to the value that we're seeing.
And as technology is always changing, and Coeo's been there for the past 10 years through the changes that you have made to your business, looking ahead at the future, are you able to share any of IMS's future goals and how you see Coeo supporting those?
Yeah, I suppose our main future goal is, obviously, we are very, very data driven. But obviously costs are a big thing as well. So what we're ultimately trying to do is trying to convert our our environment, if you will, to full serverless. So, we want all our databases to be in either Azure Elastic Pools or Azure SQL DBs, things like this, and that's ultimately where we want to go. So it's definitely like a massive cost saving exercise, but also it's a massive technology shift as well, and Koei will be with us on the way for that.
Good. Well, we're really looking forward to supporting you, and hopefully it'll be the next 10 years we can have this conversation again.
Absolutely.
One last thing for the people that are on the call today. If anybody here is considering a managed service provider, considering Coeo, is there any piece of advice, Mike, that you could give to them?
Yeah, so I would definitely consider it, because for us the benefit is having that support extension on a 24/7 basis, because I mean, no one in my team wants to be working 24/7. We just don't have the numbers for that to be able to support some of this. But just having someone available whenever we need them for any sort of question, or whether it be an incident, is invaluable to us. So I definitely keep it in the back of your mind, anyone that's thinking about it.
Great. Well, thanks, Mike, for sharing your experiences with everyone today.
No problem.
Thank you very much, Paula. Thank you very much, Mike. We've listened and heard about the what. We've also covered an awful lot about the why. I thought we could close out the session with how. So first of all, I'd like to ask Paula to give us a viewpoint in terms of one of the key areas, which is obviously around process and people. So Paula, how do we support our clients from a process and people perspective?
Yeah, so in our managed services team, we have around 30 data platform engineers, and that's between our UK office and the office in Hyderabad. So each of these engineers, they're at a different stage in their career. So we have recent graduates, engineer level, senior engineers, and principal engineers. And one of the things that I really love about the team is the mix of skills and experience that brings. So there's always a fresh balance of like a fresh perspective and a deep technical expertise. One of the other things that I think is really beneficial about the service at Coeo is the clear escalation path that we have. So if somebody's experiencing like a particularly complex issue or something for the first time, there'll always be somebody else in the team that has seen that before and can provide support. So what we do then is we use this as a learning opportunity for other members of the team who are experiencing this issue for the first time. And during my engineering days, I found this really beneficial because there was many issues that I was seeing for the first time, but it was great to have that knowledge passed on to me through real hands-on learning. So I was able to apply that then the next time I seen the issue and my skills were developed. So that's what we try to do within our team. Edward mentioned about the role of a lead engineer. So this is one of the most important roles that we have at Coeo. So every client is assigned a lead engineer, and they're the main technical point of contact that they'll have within Coeo. So they're responsible for looking after the client environment, keeping internal documentation on that client's environment up to date. They would organize and attend ticket reviews and quarterly service reviews, but they're also the most knowledgeable person in our team on that client. So how that works would be if an engineer was working on that client and they needed a bit of insight into the client environment, the lead engineer would be the go-to person. So they'd be able to share a bit more information. So this would provide a high level of service, and it just makes sure that none of the knowledge on that customer is lost and everything runs smoothly. And just to touch back on what Mike said also, our customers, they don't see us as an external support team. They really do see us as an extension of their own team. And that's because we work so closely with them. We get to know their environment inside out, and they really trust us. So they see that we can provide the same level of care, expertise as if we were part of their own team. And that relationship with the customer is really key, because it means we're not just responding to alerts. We go in and we proactively help them improve their data platform. We give them advice on best practices, and we make sure they get real value from our service.
Thank you very much, Paula. So that's the people and process angle. The next area of the how is around technology. So I'd like James to give his insight from a technology perspective. Over to you, James.
Yes, I think If I think back to when I started and the earlier days of Corio, obviously a lot of the servers we were supporting were more on-prem or in shared data centers, and over a number of years that has obviously transitioned to a point where most of the SQL servers that we support are virtual. Now, obviously, with an IaaS VM or SQL Server, we do a lot to monitor and manage the underlying operating system as well as SQL Server itself, because we understand how intrinsically linked those things are. So we do work with the entire server, and also, if there's things that we need the client to engage with, we'll engage with their infrastructure and storage teams where necessary, to investigate any issues. With that move to virtual, those VMs can be running in a number of different environments. So they could be on-prem kind of VMware or Hyper-V environments, or more recently, obviously there's a move to the cloud. So, but it doesn't really matter where that's running. So it could be an Azure VM, it could be AWS, it could be Google Cloud, it could be any number of other providers. To us, it doesn't really make any difference. It's an IaaS VM at the end of the day, so we can support and monitor that wherever that's running. Also, with that growth of Azure over the last few years, especially, we have helped a number of clients with upgrades and migrations into the cloud, and that's something that we can do as part of, within the support team. If it's a more straightforward lift and shift of a VM into Azure, or potentially a migration to something like Managed Instance or Azure DB, and we've worked with a number of clients to help them with that journey. But also, it is an advantage that we have the consulting department available within Corio as well. So if there are more complex re-architecture projects that clients want to undertake, we can engage with the consulting team to help them with those larger scale projects. The other side of the technical side of that migration to Azure is that obviously a lot of the infrastructure is abstracted away, so we have to deal less with that underlying infrastructure. So that shifted our focus a lot to the performance side of things. So where clients are running on Azure DBs, especially, or managed instances, our focus changes to doing a bit more performance analysis and ongoing review, because we can often see if we can tune a workload, make it consume less resources, that can have a direct impact on the cost. So if you can get, for example, CPU usage down from 80 to 40% or whatever it is, you then have the opportunity to downscale those services, and as I say, have a direct impact on cloud costs. So that's kind of a lot of the stuff we do. A lot of the work we do is still the traditional SQL Server workloads, but we're seeing more and more of that migration to Azure and cloud workloads now, and the associated changes.
Thank you very much, James. And finally, the final area I thought that we could discuss around the how is around business value. And I would like Edward to comment around business value that we demonstrate. Over to you, Edward.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, in terms of the value, I think from what we see and what we've experienced, there is definitely some different areas, I think, that clients kind of focus on and where they get the most value from us. I think one element is certainly our expertise. I think for since its inception, Corio has specialized, or was very much specialized in SQL Server databases, and obviously how that's evolved over time. So this being the sort of the bread and butter, the core element of the service, has meant it's always been a focal point for us. So I think because of that, there's been a trust, I think, towards us as to being the experts, knowing what to do. So especially when some client environments are, say, not performing particularly well, or there's concerns either from the internal teams or management about just how it's configured, maybe it's not quite right, they can bring us in to trust the fact that we will bring it into a state which will ensure it's performant, it's optimized, and it's managed and maintained well. It can provide that confidence in some ways that the platform is secure and stable, and then they can focus on higher value items. For others, I think it's the extension. I know Mike was talking about it as well, alluded to it, about that, that we can act as an extension team. We can provide, in some ways, a sort of burst capacity. We can push out, and help drive changes just by being that extended team to a client environment. But as well, I think for some clients, it is that assurance. It's the insurance. For some, it's just very difficult to spin up a large enough team, for instance, to go 24/7. So when there is a big bang at 2 a.m. on a Friday night, it's us who are there. We can deal with it. We've built up that knowledge, monitoring experience that we can go in. We can address those issues, and we can try to bring things back up as quickly as possible. And then on back in office hours, we'll figure out what went wrong and just try to stop it from happening again. But I think probably again. Mike was talking about it again, so thank you, Mike, for setting me up for this. I think it's the partnership bit, which I think is some of our where our best work is. It's that partnering up with our clients and not only providing them with that assurance, but I'm guessing it's helping them more confidently step into their future goals. We're here, we know what we're doing, we know maybe you've got your plans, and we're here just to give you that assurance that they are right, or maybe you just need to slightly change tack a bit. But we can help from our experience and expertise ensure that when clients are making these big decisions, like moving to the cloud or changing technology stack, etc., that we can be there in this very specialist core area to give them that surety. But other than that as well, I think for the work we do, whether that's being delegated from a client for us to do certain items, whether that's optimize code and query plans, etc. Let's get the performance back into good places. Let's optimize for cost, etc. Let's manage and maintain well. I think for some clients, that's where they see the best value. We are keeping things performant and hopefully trying to keep things running as efficiently as possible.
Thank you very much, Edward, and thank you very much, James and Paula, for closing out the session. I think we're going to wrap now in terms of moving to Q&A. I'm just going to just check in terms of the Q&A questions that we've got, which is great. I think we're going to start with the first question, which is, I'm going to spring it back to Edward. I'm sorry, Edward, you were last up. You're first up this time. So what sets Coeo apart from other providers? Can you share and articulate that, please?
Okay. Of course. Yeah, I think one of the things that really does set us apart is well, one element is definitely just the origins of Coeo. It has been very much a specialist in this area in terms of database management since its inception. It has obviously grown and it's now extended into other areas, but this core bit is such a core element of us. I'd say this is the bit that makes us those sort of the expert in this sort of in this sort of area. I think as well from a contractual perspective. So a lot of other providers have a sort of contract where you get a certain number of tickets, a certain number of calls, a certain amount of time potentially, so for which instance can be handled. After that, there are sort of, okay, you're gonna have to pay a little bit more money, otherwise we're not gonna basically deal with it. We don't approach it like that. The way that we try to approach it is that it's a fixed cost based on the size of your environment typically. So typically the number of, say, SQL Server instances is, say, one of the core ones we handle, but it's meant to be an all you can eat in some ways. The idea is that we're sort of taking on the risk and that we are actually incentivized to solve problems, whereas for some it's a case of you will, like teams will be paid by the number of calls or the number of instances they deal with. We are not incentivized to that. Every incentive for us is to try to fix problems and to resolve incidents, basically. Like, we want to achieve silent running because for us, that means, for us, it's in our benefit. And I think as well, it's for the client benefit as well. I think most clients would rather have the silent running environment that's working, they know it's in a good state, rather than the big and noisy Big Bang one and trying to demonstrate, the good work you're doing by not resolving the problems, but by solving the incidents. So I think that's one of the things I think we structurally is what makes us a bit different.
Thank you, Edward. Okay. Next question, I think I'm going to pass it to Paula, which is, why Coeo? Why not hire our own team? So Paula, over to you.
Yeah, so there's a few key reasons why businesses choose to work with us rather than build their own in-house team. And one of the biggest factors is the risk and continuity. So if you're hiring your own engineers, you're relying on a small group of people, which Mike had said earlier was one of their problems back in 2015. And if somebody in your company leaves, they go on holiday, they're off sick, there's going to be a gap in your coverage. So depending on the size of your business, to run like a fully resilient service, you need at least 4 engineers for daytime support. And if you wanted like a true 24/7 coverage, you're going to need 2 more. So that's at least 6, which is a big investment in your recruitment, your training, and your retention. But with Acoio, you're getting that team of 30 experienced data platform engineers who, as we've said, work as an extension of your own team. We provide the 24/7 coverage, so there's always somebody available no matter what time of day an issue arises. Plus, as mentioned earlier, our team has the expertise. So if something particularly complex comes up, there's always somebody in the team with the right knowledge. One of the other key advantages is that we're proactive and not just reactive. So instead of like firefighting an issue, like Edward just said, we work with our customers to really optimize their environment. We work to improve the performance and we really try to prevent problems before they arise. So as well as the technical expertise mentioned earlier, our engineers have a wide range of industries and technologies also, which means they bring best practices and insights that a small internal team who are just focused on one business, they might not have access to. So whenever you're working with Acoio, you're not just getting like a platform support, you're getting fully managed, always available, expert-led service that help you get the most from your data platform while you reduce risk and operational overhead.
Thank you very much, Paula. And I think there's one final question. I'm going to ask James to answer this one because it talks about what types of industries, clients and environments do you work with, and can you share some examples with us? So James, over to you, sir.
Sure, yeah, we work across a range of different sectors. So finance, retail, along to tech and online gaming, as well as a few others. So we've got experience across that wide range of sectors and knowledge about what's important to these companies. We work with several very well-known household names and high street brands. The support we do in terms of the systems, we support the very highest level mission critical 24/7 e-commerce sites and other systems that if they go down, there is a significant impact on the bottom line. So we're used to supporting those kind of critical systems, but obviously a lot of less critical ones, back office systems, line of business applications. As well as that, we also do offer the 24/7 service, but there's also an 8x5 service. So for those less critical or even a lot of development and test environments, we support on an 8x5 basis. So that is available if that's more suitable, because we understand not every system needs that round-the-clock support. So yeah, a real range of different sizes and impacts and criticality across a large number of different clients and sectors.
Thank you very much, James. I think that closes out all of the questions. So I think we'll close the session here. Again, I'd like to thank the panel for their support, engagement, and interactive conversation. Thank you very much, Edward, Paula, James, and a very special warm thank you to Mike from IMS. Thank you for taking your time out. We do appreciate it.
No problem.
In summary, whether you have a platform environment, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, or you're in the midst of a transformation, Acoio Managed Service can help. We have the deep technical expertise to manage those environments. We offer both short-term transition engagements or health checks, as well as much more longer-term managed service provision. If you'd like to follow up, if you want to have any conversations or questions, please feel free to drop me an email. give me a call. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Contact details are there. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today, and I'd like to say goodbye. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.